Good morning, beautiful soul. Another beautiful day in the Sunshine State. Although I'm probably moving to Texas in a week. Yeah, my daughter and I woke up thinking today about how life changes when you start this journey, when you pick your favorite spiritual practices, when you visit the monasteries, when you attend retreats, when you find your gurus, when you learn from the masters, when you read the books, when you apply that knowledge to your life, your energy changes. The way you view things in the world changes, right? I hope my voice is clear. And you start to realize how the way you look at things, the way you observe, determines how you experience life.
I didn't understand that.
Oops. Um, I was reading, so this week's book is Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, Volume 2. I've been going down the rabbit hole. I want to hear from the masters. I want to learn from the gurus. And it makes it very impactful when I close my eyes. I typically meditate about 3 hours, 3.5 hours a day. So these masters, they get visits from, keep an open mind, okay? I imagine you have to have an open mind on this channel. We talk about things nobody knows about. We talk about things that sound magical, out of this world. And the more I learn, the more I read, the more silent it sort of makes me, because I just want to sit with it. I just want to sit with that information, which is why I went from meditating for an hour a day to 2 to 3, and now I generally do 3.5 hours. I don't do guided meditations anymore because I can guide myself while I'm deep in the void, right? So I just pick specific frequencies or specific combinations of frequencies. And you can join me because when I do those meditations, I do them live and it's free for anyone in the world to join me. Today I'm going to do it in the afternoon from 1 to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. And it's an open temple hours, right? You can come in and you can leave whenever you want. And the idea is a space held for you to come heal yourself, work on yourself, liberate your energy, create harmony, create homeostasis, align your energy centers so that you can live your life consciously. You can pick your reality. Now, when this happens, people fall out of your life. People that no longer resonate with you will judge you, call you names, give you hate, give you the poison that they're offering from within. And then if you take any of that personally, you are accepting that poison and making it your own. This comes from the 4 Agreement book, the 5 Agreement, the 5th Agreement book, and the Mastery of Love. Now, people on a spiritual journey get a lot of hate too. You know, you call it Osho, Yogananda. You can go see Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe, Alan Watts, Dr. Wayne Dyer. If you look at their videos, if you look at their words that are sitting online, and sometimes you start to read the comments underneath them, it'll blow your mind. People have so much poison and hate inside of them that they will project it right out onto you, onto those people. Now, it's a pretty wild statement for most people to accept that there's no such thing as you judging other people. You can only judge yourself. You can never judge other people. Now, Bashar talks about this. Bashar gets a lot of hate too. Poor thing. So does Dolores Cannon and Abraham Hicks. And I have gotten used to that too. I've gotten hate too. And I'm not a master, you know. I just like to talk about the things that I'm learning, the things that are working for me, and documenting my journey along the way. So, so Bashar talks about this. Bashar said that you create versions of everybody in your personal reality. So when you see me, you will just create a version of me in your reality. I will create a version of me in my reality. So the version of me that I think I am only exists for me. Right? Same thing with my parents, my siblings, my neighbors, my friends, my daughter. They will all have specific versions of me in their reality. There's infinite versions of you, right? That's what that means. Because there are infinite versions of you, everybody will experience, they'll take a version of you. Now that version of you is in their reality, which will reflect something from within them onto you. So you don't see people as they are, truly. You can only see them as you are, right? Like the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? All of these statements start to make sense on such a deeper level when you touch the void, when you touch that pure consciousness, when you merge with it, right? Now, in the Masters of the Far East, they call the source energy God, right? And the only way to know that energy is to merge with it. And you can merge with it during deep meditations. And it takes time, it takes patience. When you close your eyes, you can sometimes feel very chaotic. There's a lot in there going on. Your mind can drive you crazy. And one of the ways to start to calm your mind is to stop fueling it. Just let it burn out, let it run out of gas. That's one of the reasons of meditations, right? So a lot of these masters in the Yoganandas, once they start going out into the world, once they have their temples and sanctuaries they're running, they don't meditate as much as they did when they started to do the work, because they can stay in that meditative state all day. They can stay connected to the source energy all day. And the stories from the masters of the Far East are so wild that unless you have truly accepted this work, unless you have identified how truly unlimited humans are and the powers that they have, those books will sound crazy. There was one instant, one of the stories, where Buddha and Jesus show up to these masters at the same time. They just both show up together and they spend some time with them. They talk to them about certain things, and then they just both leave and disappear again. And to a person that is too new to this journey, that sounds crazy, that sounds wild, right? And then you see these masters don't travel like us. They can just teleport, they can just leave, they can just disappear, right? When they're together with these people, Americans that went to the masters of the Far East, whenever they were hungry, food just showed up. There was unlimited food. You can just keep eating and it just keeps refilling itself until you're done. Now, these are small examples that when you get to that desirelessness state that Buddha talks about, that the masters talk about, suddenly it becomes very easy for you to be able to hold a thought of what you want and it just shows up instantly. You know, when as I meditate, and I meditate every day, as I continue to do my meditations, I have started to have experiences that I have no clue how to explain. No matter how I try to translate that experience into words, it's disappointing because I'm not doing justice. I know it's not what I'm trying to put onto the words on paper when I journal. I believe that's what it means when they say that the deeper you go into this work, the more silent you become. I'm really happy that I've gotten to a place where I judge nobody. People that are very unhappy, people that are very victim minded, people that are always looking for others to blame for their unhappiness, their incompleteness, their lack of content, and it's always someone else's fault. And whenever you experience someone with very low vibration, someone that just wants to give you poison, I just simply walk away. I just simply delete, move on, and it's the only way. Because if I don't do that, it becomes very difficult to feel compassion for them. It becomes very difficult to send them love, send them blessings, send them energy. The longer you stay close to them, it's very important to be able to walk away so that you can maintain that state of bliss, contentment of life. It's so beautiful when I close my eyes and I just go deep into meditation and everything's perfect. I'm just in a void. And there's just this pure bliss, pure love, unconditional love that you can feel for everyone, everything, and you. Life is so beautiful. We're not supposed to be torching ourselves. We're not supposed to be blaming other people. We're not supposed to be victims. You're not a victim. You think someone did you wrong? No, they didn't. Imagine the wild idea that nobody has ever done anything wrong. Even Einstein talked about this, that there's no such thing as good or bad. It's just the definitions and meanings that you put onto things that then changes how you perceive that reality. And the reason you need to feel that quietness inside of you, that silence inside of you, is because you start to feel, you start to see the truth. You start to become the truth. And when you get there, it is so deep that there's no way that you can explain it to people. And the moment you start explaining it to people, now It's all open to different kinds of interpretations. And then suddenly, people are blaming you, calling you names, all these things that happen. I've seen people that get very lonely when they start doing this work. I've seen people that, I have a friend of mine, she and her husband just filed, they just separated, they left each other because she's so deeply into this work and he's not. And they don't understand, they don't speak the same language anymore, they can't view each other the same way. And it was getting harder and harder for her to maintain that bliss state. It was really getting harder for her to feel compassion for him. So she lovingly just left. When you get into that state, it is important to meditate very, very deeply so that you can figure out and identify and feel that nobody can love you the way you want to be loved. That kind of love that you want for yourself has to come from within. Love is an inside job. When you simply become love, that's when you understand what unconditional love is for other people. There was a man, governor of where these masters went, and Buddha came with Jesus, same story. And the governor was feeling really guilty. He was shaking with guilt, and he was shaking because what he just witnessed, that Jesus and Buddha just appeared in the room where they were just having dinner. So he's shaking, and he feels like he can apologize. He needs to apologize for whatever they did. I forgot what the apology was for. And Buddha puts his arms on this guy and says, "You're judging yourself. I'm not judging you." And I just smiled while I was listening to this book when I was going for a walk this morning. And I was like, it is so hard for people to realize that you can never judge anyone. The only person you can ever judge is yourself. That's why it is important for the complete dedication to this work. Complete dedication. There's a lot of people that I've been to with retreats that I have met in temples and monasteries, and they visit these places. But because when they go home, they just go back to their old personality. I've seen people go to retreats, and the only time they meditate is when they're at the retreat. They don't meditate when they go home. But when they go home, they'll just go tell everybody that they're enlightened beings now. They have awakened. But they're victims, they're judging people, there's always argument, they're always upset about something, and you can just see right through them, right? And you can just feel compassion for them. What else are you going to do? It is very difficult to master spiritual practices. It is very difficult because you have to face yourself. You're too used to facing everyone else. You're too used to trying to change the hologram. You want to control your parents. You want to control your lovers. You want to control your children. You want to control your outcome of your jobs and all these things. You're upset about your neighbors and mother-in-laws and all this. And when then you accept that everything that happens to you is your fault, and everyone that you've been judging yourself all along. And then you start to realize, wait a minute, I have to take 100% of accountability? But there's no other way to become free. What are you going to do? Controlling the hologram doesn't work. It is difficult initially when you stop judging anyone for anything, for any reason. No matter what happens, you don't judge them. It's very difficult. You know, the little remnants of your old personality will start to creep in and you'll start to catch yourself. And then you'll just release those judgments. And you'll actively start to, send them compassion, send them love. And the more you do that, the more at peace you become, the more free you feel. It reminds me of this very cute cartoon where there's the source energy, or God, is talking to this one person, and they're both floating in blackness. And the, the source, or the God energy, says, I've created this entire universe for you to mature, for you to experiment, learn. And he said, You mean mankind? You built this universe for mankind? And he said, No, just you. And he said, Well, what about all these people? And he says, There's no one else. There's just you and me. There's only source energy and you. Everyone that you meet is a different incarnation of you. And so everything that anyone has ever experienced, you have experienced. You just don't know it. It was a very simple cartoon, but there was so much information in it. And it was like 30 seconds or a minute long. It's freeing, but it takes time for intellectually understanding the truth to living it. I have really started to enjoy solitude. You know, my corporate career, I've been remote since 2019. Yeah. And then after 2019, I was working from home. So I was in isolation, in solitude a lot when I was between work and on my days off. And it drove me to read books. It's one of the best things I picked up when I was alone. And then when I started to do this work, I really wanted to be alone so I could just sit with what I have just realized. I can sit with what I have just seen and experienced in my meditations. When you can just disappear in the middle of a meditation and you can go to astral worlds, when you have the mystical experiences, when you just leave your body in the middle of a meditation, when other entities that are very high frequency, suddenly your frequency goes up so high you can see them, you can hear them, you can communicate with them. They can touch you. They can show you things, And when you come back from those experiences, you're in such an awe of life, you're like, what? And then suddenly when people want to judge you, people are calling themselves victims, all these divisions and chaos in the world, you just don't want to deal with it. You just don't want to deal with it. You want to figure more of this out. You want to understand how much more love is there? How much more truth is there to be uncovered? Well, unlimited. I'm going to talk about this on my live. Tomorrow is Friday, right? So I'm going to go live tomorrow and we'll talk about it more. Don't fall for this hate, guys. Stay away from hateful people. Stay away from people that judge you. Stay away from victims. Stay away from negative-minded people. It's It's not fun to watch people that you love and respect be hated so much, right? All these people whose books I read. But when I go online to see what else, what are some of the best things that they have said, right? Maybe some of their stories. And then underneath those stories, I see so much hate. It used to bother me a lot. But thank goodness I've gotten to a place where I just simply brush it away. I don't even finish reading those hateful messages. Just move on. Just work on yourself. Because you defending yourself, you defending the gurus that you respect so much, you defending the masters, what are you doing? You're just controlling the hologram again. You're trying to fix the hologram. It doesn't work. You know, Bashar says, right, that you have the free will and you're allowed to be miserable. You're allowed to remain sick. You're allowed to torture yourself because that's what you're choosing for yourself in life. You're allowed to judge yourself. You're allowed to judge other people, which is you judging yourself. You're allowed to hurt other people, which is you hurting yourself. You can never hurt anyone without hurting yourself. You can never be mean to anyone without being mean to yourself. And people realize these things too late. Most people never realize it. Most people are just screaming at the hologram all their lives. What happens? There's two choices. You either evolve or you repeat. You either evolve or you repeat. And Dolores Cannon talks about this, that you can choose to be in elementary school for eternity. You can choose to be in second grade, keep coming back and repeat second grade, and keep coming back and judge people and be a victim and scream at people and hate people. You're free to do that for eternity, except you don't get to enjoy it then. You don't get to enjoy the experience of evolution. It is a very difficult thing to realize that all of those judgments, victim mindset, screaming at people, hating people, keeps you locked in the animal energies, lower and lower and lower vibrations. And the more you have those lower vibrational experiences, the more you will attract people in life to start having the victim parties, the judgmental parties. Gossip. The Four Agreement book says gossip is black magic. It's pure poison. Gossip is pure poison. It's funny when I see these people online that'll find other haters so they can hate together. The victim competition. I can be a bit better victim than you can. And then people just come together online, find themselves, find their echo chambers. People that will just start hating Dr. Joe. And then they'll find other people that hate Dr. Joe and they'll collectively hate. People that hate Osho, Sadhguru. Oh my God, so many people hate Sadhguru. Blows my mind. People that make fun of everybody. Jesus, Buddha. It doesn't matter how much of a master you are. Somebody will find something in you to hate. That is also a very good realization. That is also very freeing. That you could be Jesus and people will still hate you. You can be Buddha, reach nirvana, and people will find ways to hate you. Stay away from it. Stay in the present moment. Stay all zenned out. And the more you do that, the less all of that noise will affect you. And imagine these external things that might otherwise bother you. Imagine that just being a mind chatter. And as long as you don't get absorbed into it, as long as you don't start to have feelings and emotions and essentially take it personally, right? That's the second agreement. Never take anything personal. Nobody hates you. Nobody hates you. Nobody judges you. They're hating themselves. They're judging themselves. When you realize that, when you embody that, suddenly it's really hard to be offended, you know? And let's say it still upsets you in some way. Ask yourself, I'm a human, I can experience these things, but how long should I feel bad? How long should I let this ruin my day? Should I let this ruin my day? How long should I feel this? And suddenly you'll start shrinking it. You'll start catching yourself with it, and you'll stop feeling it from your heart. You will just watch it and then get away from it. Start doing this work daily. Even the masters kept pointing out that the Kundalini energy at the base of your spine, figure out how to move it up to your brain, figure out how to become the magnet. The less you care, the more magnetic you become. The less you do anything, the more magnetic you will become. That's what meditation is, right? Just close your eyes. What are you doing? Nothing. What are you trying to become? Nothing. And in that nothingness is where everything is. When you relax into the nothing, when you relax into the void, that's where the magic stuff happens. That's where people can manifest from, the really good ones. You can think of something, and by the time the meditation is over, it's literally sitting in front of you. One of the masters was saying that you don't need water to make ice. You can manifest ice out of thin air. You don't need anything to create gold. At the dinner table, and that same story where Jesus came with Buddha, they one of the ladies, masters, she held out her hand, or she asked someone to hold out their hand, and they said, think of gold. And they thought of a gold disc plate, something, some gold, and the gold appeared in the hand instantly. And then they took that gold and they passed it around the table so everybody can feel it, touch it, whatever. And then the Americans, they took the gold once they left, and they gave the gold to an expert to find out if, and they said, yeah, this is 100% gold, it's pure gold. So the point of this is everything is possible. You can fly, you can teleport, you can do anything, but you can only do it from a place of oneness with the source energy. And you can't do that if you get too caught up in what is happening around in the hologram. And you can't do that if you're caught up in it. There's some of these masters that are 150 years old, 400 years old, and they look like they're 30-year-old. Apparently, one of the master lady, she doesn't look a day older than 20. And it's really interesting to watch, to listen to these stories, read these stories, think about it, and it just expands your horizon of what is possible, right? Look at the biggest things that people have done, and then you work your way back into, okay, so I'm here. I just started my spiritual practices. Here's what masters are able to do. What are some of the basic things that they still talk about while they're masters? What do they keep reminding us of so that I can start practicing it here? So that one day I may get there and be among them and be able to talk to them in my meditations, be able to see them. How do we do that? Well, a couple of the things. Don't ever take anything personal. Nobody has ever hated you. No one has ever judged you. They can only hate and judge themselves. You're not a victim. You can perceive that you're a victim. You can perceive that someone has judged you because you have that freedom. But you don't have to do that. It's a choice. If you want to experience being hurt by someone, you can do that. But just keep in mind, nobody has ever hurt you. Only you have hurt you. You create these versions of everyone in your life, right? And then they are playing the actor, the role in your life. But it's a projection of you in some way, right? Bashar talked about, and this is my last point, I'm just ranting today. And Bashar talked about train stations together. Imagine two trains at the station are just going, they're moving, starting to travel. Now, initially, the trains are together, right? They're very close by. You can see the person's people on the other train. You can tell them things. You can even jump on the other train if you want to switch sides, if you want to go to the different location. And these divisions in the world, in the country, he was explaining as people in two different trains. And sooner or later, the trains are going to speed up and they're going to go into different directions to a point where they will not even be able to see. You will not be able to see the other train. You will not be able to hear people from the other train. You will not, suddenly, that one train will go away, go out of your reality. You will not be able to experience them anymore. And he said that's what is happening. That is one way he explained what is happening, especially in America. You know, the red versus blue, the left versus right. You know, the red pill, blue pill is just two different echo chambers almost. Like, you can, have you ever met someone from the right and the left and they're talking and they just can't, they're just talking right over each other. No one can change each other's mind. One thinks the other one is crazy. And sooner or later, according to Bashar, they will not even experience each other in each other's reality. There's a shift happening. You know, Dolores Cannon talks about the 5D world, the new earth that even Eckhart Tolle wrote about. That right now the two worlds have a very big overlap. So we feel like this is chaos happening, but these two worlds will separate, and people from one part will not experience people from the other part, and the new earth will then be, you'll be in that reality now. You'll be there. I don't want to say you'll be stuck there, but it'll be very difficult for you to then switch sides. But in either way, you'll find that it'll be, the chaos will disappear. The new earth will then be in your experience. Don't take anything personal, right? I think rule number 3 was don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions about anything. It's very hard to not make assumptions if you never take anything personal. You know, someone is saying negative things to you, just walk away. Walk away and send them love as you walk away. Just bless them. Be like, oh, poor thing. I hope your day gets better. And just move on. That's enough of my rant for today.